Hey Steve, welcome back. How
Afternoon.
was your Taylor Swift concert?
Oh, she was very good. Uh,
Uh,
yeah, like my whole family went, so no, it was good.
I guess we have a week left to go. Unfortunately, I was kind of distracted during most of this competition, so I haven't been able to do much other than follow along with the public notebook. What about you guys? Were you able to improve on that submission, Steve, that you were trying to do?
Well, I think there's only 4 days or 3 days left. I think it finishes on the 1st of July, so there's only a few days left.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, like I had been doing pretty well in yeah, like it was mainly just using like the LGBM notebook, but then I'd fine-tuned all its weights, all the thresholds, sorry, between each category. And like that, it pushed me
Right.
right up. It was like right up in sort of the gold medal position nearly. And then some bloke released a public notebook doing exactly the same, and so like everybody's up
Yeah,
there
the
now.
optimization using Optuna, right? And well, two parts. One, first he did this thresholding, which Mayank and I discussed of what he does of finding the cutoff points, and then subsequently he also introduced the use of Optuna to find the best parameters. So that combination, I think, pushed a lot of people, me included, back. But of course, a lot many more people have gone further beyond that, I'm sure.
All right, I hadn't seen the use. Yeah, like obviously I've been away a lot, so the
Right.
last sort of week or so I hadn't been able to do anything. I hadn't seen him using Optuna. I saw like he'd done the thresholding thing, which yeah, like
Right.
took everybody past me. Um,
Right, right. But I think the reason for that is he pushed it even further by a point to, I think, if I remember, 0.824. And
yeah,
if
it
you
is.
run
Yeah.
that again, you'll be back on top because basically what he did was used Optuna to find some key parameters and then inserted those parameters into the LGBM and I think into XGBoost. I don't know whether he did it for both. I didn't really check, but bottom line, using Optuna to find the parameters and then applying the threshold. So those two techniques on top of the basic things he did really got him to 0.824.
All right, I saw that. Yeah, I saw he changed the thresholds, and yeah, like it looks as if he's like um manually set them to like get the highest public leaderboard score. And I also saw that yeah, like he changed the balance between the LGBM and the XG boost. So I think I think he'd reduced the XG boost contribution or whatever. But I hadn't seen. Has he actually changed the LGBM parameters then as well, has he?
Yeah, I don't remember whether he changed one or both, but I definitely know that the latest improvement he made was to use Optuna in finding the parameters. Now, what I'm confused about is whether he actually just, because, in Optuna, obviously you can do a bunch of things, whether he figured out the weight distribution between the two or the parameter. I thought it was the parameters because he was actually searching when I looked at the code. He was trying to determine the parameters. And in fact, I am working on something else using XDB as a project and helping out a friend. And in that, I kind of was trying to use Optuna to determine the parameters. So I thought I looked at his code and he was uh, kind of playing. Actually, let me see whether I can, maybe I can bring it up and we can look at it in real quick of what he was doing. Um, Mayank, were you able to do anything over the last week? Unfortunately, I was busy with other things, so I didn't able to do much on this competition.
No, not much. I've been busy with other stuff too. Uh, yeah.
Okay, I'll share my screen and we can just look at it really quick. You can see it, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So this is, I think, his latest one. And you can see it's at 0.824.
Yep.
And he calls it the tuning ensemble. Let's see. I just set the and defines the threshold. Yeah, see here, it's tuned. Define the trial. Defines the metrics.
All right.
And then goes through the study, create the study.
Yeah, so has he
trial.
actually... Yeah, if you were to compare that notebook against his previous notebook, just for the parameters for the LGBM. Yeah, so that guy, yeah, so yeah, that had thresholds notebook. So that's before he'd...
Yeah. So here, what I did notice was he doesn't have the Optuna thing.
Yeah, so like this one here is like the original LGBM parameters. Are they different then in that new tuned one?
Yeah, so that's the thing, right? Like if you then...
And I think is it higher up where he's training it?
Yeah. He just does do the study best parameters. Right. Now, the question is, does he use them?
But actually in the notebook there where he's training, what parameters has he got on the LGBM?
Actually, that's why I thought it was just XDB, because isn't it in the... see.
Yeah, so there are those...
LGB
Yeah, so
and...
are those parameters different than he had in his previous add thresholds
Yeah,
notebook?
let's look at the XGP one. So this is the tuning ensemble. And learning rate, max depth, number of leads, column samples. Okay, let's compare that. 0.18, 10.5. Yeah, this seems identical, right?
Yeah, so that's what I saw. I thought he had the same parameters between
Yeah,
the two.
but I thought the purpose of what he was doing... Sorry, go ahead.
As I say, the only difference I can see is if you look at like the predict class, which is, yeah, it's above that. Yeah, it's like above the training. Yeah, there. Up a wee bit. Yeah, like when he calls that, if you look where he calls predictor, he's changed that value, that n value. Yeah, sorry, if you look at the bottom of the training loop after the XG boost one. Yeah, about there somewhere. Wherever the predictor bit is. I think it's just above that, sorry. Yeah, there. Yeah, so he's changed that number if you look at like his previous notebook, the thresholds notebook, that value is different. Yeah, there it was. Up a wee bit. Yeah, so that was the only thing I could see that he'd changed, apart from the thresholds.
That's interesting. I thought he did some best because I didn't see the Optuna stuff in
Yeah.
the threshold stuff, right? So I was thinking he maybe tried to figure out
Yeah, better
the parameters,
values for
but I
those.
guess he didn't get anything from it or something.
Yeah, like to me, when I looked at his notebook, I thought that all those parameters had remained the same. As I say, the only ones I could see were the predictor, the split between the XG boost and the LGBM, and
And
like he
isn't
has
he
the
basically
threshold thing.
doing one time and one, or basically subtracting 1 minus n and multiplying one by n and the other by 1 minus n to do the...
Yeah, because he's only got the two models, so it's like
Right.
to get them to add up to 1. So like in this
Right.
case here, so he's like using 0.79079 for the contribution of the LGBM, and then
7, 1,
whatever 1 minus
7.
that is for the XG boost.
Yeah. And then in this case, 0.7, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, like as I say, I think he has the function down the bottom there to like find the thresholds. But I think what he's actually done is he's found sort of close thresholds, and then he's manually tuned them to get as much public leaderboard score as possible. So I think anybody that copies this notebook, they're going to be overfitting on the public leaderboard score. So yeah, like I've taken sort of like, well, I had like what he had already, but yeah, like what I'm doing now is like trying to find the best thresholds to give me the best CV score, and like hoping that these notebooks are all overfitting, and by using the best CV score rather than the best public leaderboard score.
So when you say CV score, so how do you, are you just determining it based on his, so I forget now, is he just doing, how is he doing the CV?
I don't know. I'm not using his notebook, but yeah, like here's got what 15 folds, so you can calculate the out of fold prediction. So
Okay, so he just does the out of fold for the 15 folds, basically.
Yeah, and then I think he used his threshold function to find the best values for that, but he's subsequently manually tuned it to get the best public leaderboard score.
Okay, and if you avoid the manual tuning part of it, then you should be coordinated with the CV, right?
Yeah.
Correlated.
So like if you were just to run his threshold function on the out of fold predictions, then your CV score should be the best.
Right.
With any luck, it'll do better on the private leaderboard.
Yeah.
Like
now, when he does this, so just basically this thing, right? That, well, not F1, but whatever the corresponding kappa fold scores, kappa scores.
Yeah, but yeah, you can see here though, like those are fold predictions, and like you can see in that line, he's already clipped them to and rounded them to 1 to 6. So basically, yeah, you see like the second line down or whatever, where he does predictions underscore fold equals predictions fold dot clip 1 6. The second line on the screen.
Oh, here, yes.
Yeah. So like there, he's taken the raw prediction, and he's rounded it and like clipped it, so is it like it's a category, it's like an integer now, it's like either it's one of the categories 1 to 6. He's lost the raw value, whereas if you were to not do that, if you were to keep that value in its raw format, like raw floating point format,
right,
and then
keep
and
it,
then
don't do this this,
Yeah,
right? Just keep it as that.
Yeah, keep it as that, and then run the threshold function, which will, yeah, so like the clipping, sorry, the rounding one just rounds you to the clearest number.
Right.
Whereas, yeah, really what you want to do is, yeah, like the function he has below the thresholds.
Oh, one question. Is it, but
No,
is
yeah,
this
that one
okay?
there.
Because
Yeah, that
is
one.
this okay where he does int 32 rather than leave it as float 32?
Well, yeah, like that's the one that one there sort of uses the thresholds to decide what category the floating point's in, as opposed to, oh, yeah, so yeah, like I'm not that familiar with his code, but you can see there he is sticking into the out of fold predictions the thresholded value, so he's converted it into an integer and done that. But you
Right.
probably want to do it before that, so as your out of fold predictions are just raw floating point numbers. Yeah, so don't do the thresholding on it. Just stick the original prediction in there, and then at the
So
end,
you would do this part ahead of the
yeah, you wouldn't do that part
this,
at all. Yeah,
right.
yeah, you wouldn't. And then at the end, you would stick it through the thresholding function, which would give you the thresholds over the out of fold predictions. It'll give you the best place to, yeah, the best thresholds to convert from floating point to category values.
So do it
Do
after
that.
you have predicted is what you're saying, right? After you have done the OF test index, find out the actual floating point and then apply the thresholds.
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, so that would give you the best thresholds. That would give you the best CV score.
Right.
For across your
and
folds.
Use that. Now,
yeah,
when you, okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so like that's what I'm doing at the minute, but and like I've taken, rather than just having one LGBM model, I've got several. So, and I've put in as well, you know, like Chris Diott's SVR thing. So I've added that in as well. So I've got like 5 models or whatever. So yeah, like I sort of average over them, and then I do the thresholding thing, but all without a full predictions as opposed to public leaderboard scores.
The one other thing I had a question on was, in his case, is he, you know, I thought he was using, or he is using, I should say, the model that he actually trained on the other competition. Is that not true?
Well, the
by
model,
that, what I mean is,
yeah, so he uses the model that was trained for that, whatever it was, not sentiment, yeah, the 6 categories. It's like part of it's part of the input to the LGBM.
yeah. And that's the part where, because I was actually thinking that, hey, one of the thoughts I had, and I never got around to it, unfortunately, is part of the reason I never got to it was because he's using a model from a prior competition. So I would have to have access to that model and train that model on the original data. What I was actually thinking of.
What he's doing is he's using the best public model from that other one. It's not one of his own models. He's taken like the best public model from that other competition.
Oh, so that's one of these. This one, right? Or no, this is just feature selection on the.
No.
This.
Is it maybe up a bit? It's not a utility script.
I think it's one of these, right?
Yeah. I can't remember which one it is, but yeah, so that's it there, I think. So those are the 5 folds. But yeah, so it's just using that, and
because this English word and all that is the current model splitting up of the data into all these gazillion features and then doing prediction on them, right? That's
Yeah.
these things here. But then he combines it with this. But what I was thinking of was the old idea, if it had been the current model, right? By current, I mean if it was a model, because now what I'll have to do is go figure out, download the data from the old competition, download these models. But the gist of my idea was if it was a current competition, I wanted to do, most people have done a 5-fold split, and I wanted your old idea of doing a 10-fold split and seeing whether my score improves. But then that doesn't work with this because, well, it could, but now I have to go back to the old competition, download that data, and I was like, it's too much work. I'm not going to worry about that. I have other things to do.
Yeah, like that data set there, as you see, it's like those are the 5 trained folds already. So he hasn't retrained that. He's just taken those folds and sort of repurposed them to stick this competition's data through it to get those, those features or whatever.
Yeah, in fact, actually, the thresholding idea came from the SVR notebook that Chris Diote had. Actually, it's not even his idea. He in turn took it from another person who wasn't even applying it in SVR. He just has this post about how, you can't automatically decide that the thresholding points are the midpoints. And I thought that was a insightful little thing for always thinking about when we do this multi-class but potentially integer kind of or discrete class classification, right? Like at what point do you decide it will come up with a floating point, but at what point is the best results when because even in images and stuff, it will come up with a probability of 0.65. Is 0.65, the appropriate threshold or not? And so there was some discussion. I think that's a worthwhile thing to keep in the pocket always, I think.
Yeah.
Much like another thing which I haven't quite understood, but there's a whole discussion from a prior competition, and everybody obviously in this competition is using it, but I haven't fully understood other than the gist of it is everybody is using this formula to convert QWK into an optimization directly, right? And that was apparently originated by a Japanese guy on Kaggle. Because you see, everybody does this A and B. I wasn't
sure what that was about,
Yeah.
I just copied what they had, so I didn't know what that was.
Right. And what that is, I'll post some links because if I try to open it'll take a while because, but anyway, I think it'll take, the gist of it is, see, in this case, or what the Japanese guy in a different competition figured out after the competition ended, he had this persistent issue that, QWK is a metric, but how do we often have this issue, right? That the metric that you want to judge your result by, unless it's differentiable, cannot be used as the loss.
Yeah.
Right. And QWK in its standard form can't be used as a loss. But QWK with this conversion can be used as a loss. So you'll see that what people have now done is see this where QWK is converted to an objective.
Yeah.
And this part is how the guy figured out, or this part is what this one Japanese guy figured out, how to convert QWK from a metric into an objective. So it can be differentiated.
Where did he get the value of A from?
I think he
It just appears to be a random number. I didn't know what it was.
determines it, or he determines it by, I'll post a relevant notebook, but it is, interesting. I just took the gist of what I'm telling away, but I didn't dive into, I bookmarked the notebooks where he goes into the discussions, but I haven't gone into the details myself to be able to answer what you asked of how does he determine A, right? You can see how he does the addition of A, and then he determines this F and G, and then he takes the derivatives of F and G as these things, and then he comes up with a gradient, and then the Hessian, which is the second, is the differentiation of the difference, if I recall correctly. And that is how he converts from Y true, Y pred to QWK objective, and that enables you to use QWK objective as your, see here, as your objective.
Yeah, I've just stolen everybody else's code without sort of paying much attention to what it was doing, but it's all like that A thing, and I didn't know what that was. But
yeah, but I'll post, but at least you can understand what is being done is an attempt to convert QWK, which is a metric, into QWK and objective. And in order to be objective, it now needs to be differentiable, and he comes up with a way to do it, which he describes in a separate notebook that I'll post a link to. But I went that far, and I was like, okay, there's, much more math, and I'll come back to it, but at least I know what and why we are doing it. And this is the code to apply whenever we want to convert a QWK into from a metric to an objective, to a differentiable objective.
Yep.
So that's what that is. Yeah, I went down that rabbit hole, much like I went down the rabbit hole of, hey, what is this thresholding thing? And actually, Chris kind of incorporated it in his SVR, and then I think this guy said, hey, he does point to Chris using it, but Chris himself points to the original post that gave him the idea from a discussion post of why thresholding is a good idea.
Yeah, as I say, like I'd taken the thresholding out of Chris's SVR and put it into this LGBM thing before this guy made it public. And like that's how I was doing well. And like as soon as he made it public, that everybody had it. So
yeah,
because it gave me like a massive boost, but they've all caught up now.
Yeah. So those two ideas, I thought he was actually using Optuna for fine-tuning the stuff, but I guess he isn't. That's just something he was trying, but maybe gave up on it because it didn't make much of a difference.
Yeah, like as I say, I got back from holiday and saw that this notebook had sort of overtaken me, and 200 other people had copied it and overtaken me. And so, like I looked into his notebook to see what he'd done, and those were the only changes I could see. The only changes were, like to add the thresholding and to change the balance between the LGBM and the XG boost. So the other parameters look to have stayed the same.
Yeah, but I think I'm going to, that's something I can do or play with in the next 2 days. Let's see, when does it end?
Pretty sure it's the 1st of July.
Let's see.
Yes. Yeah, so there are 3 days to go. Yeah, so as I say, I'm hoping that if I
July 2nd is the final submission. That will be second. Second is 9:30, 1, 2, Tuesday. Right?
Oh yeah, so
Tuesday 4 o'clock our time, or midnight your time.
Tuesday midnight, yeah. So I'm hoping that if I use thresholding, but like on the out of fold predictions, that I might get some advantage that way, because I've tried everything else and haven't been able to get any boost anywhere else.
Yeah, no, I think the threshold, the what you're talking about is the overfitting is probably a correct assumption. So at least I'll try and make that change and resubmit. And the issue is the thing, this is where I was just listening. As I said, I was doing some other XGB work, and I was listening to Jeremy's old lecture again for some reason, and he talks about this issue of how do you decide a validation set is good, and how do you rely on that even more than sometimes the test set and or the Kaggle test set, because you can overfit. And I guess the counterintuitive thing is, as you're saying, you'll probably get a better score on the test set with the approach he's having, and you'd have to at least pick one of the notebooks to be a lower score, but probably a better generalizing score when the other 70% of your data is released.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping there's going to be a big shakeup, but like obviously you need to make sure you pick your out of folds CV, the best notebook there, as opposed to picking your best public leaderboard score.
Right.
In this
Right.
competition,
But
though,
that's where
you
if
can
you are
actually
doing.
choose. You can actually choose 3 submissions.
Yeah,
If you look
now
at your,
they've increased it.
yeah, so you can choose the one with the best CV score and the one with the best public leaderboard score, and what's the word?
Yeah. So that's,
Cut
and I was
glasses.
going to say, if you're doing 15-fold CV, I think you should be fairly confident that your CV score. Oh, the one other thing now that you mentioned CV score is, if you really want to rely on the CV score, then you may want to consider one other thing. I don't know whether you have time to do this, but are you aware? You may have time. I may not be able to do this, which is one reason why the CV score thing may not work for me. But anyway, are you aware that that people have, better correlated CV to test scores by finding out the topics of the essays and classifying them accordingly? Are you aware of this?
I saw it briefly, but I haven't implemented it myself.
Yeah, so that's something. But the interesting thing is, let's go. The interesting thing there, Steve, is that there is already a guy who has classified all the essays in the current data set into the topics. So you can easily, I think, just yeah.
What's that? You see the subject there, 10,000 new. Can you just scroll up a sec? What's that? 10,000 new student essays with score.
He's just adding. He just used it to create new student essays and some scoring. But I was looking
might be useful.
for cat boost. Oh man, come on.
Yeah, you need to write his full name. I think so.
No, I mean it catches these, but that there is Chris Diot. is there a way to get all of his posts on this competition? Or does it automatically show that? Oh,
Yeah, you just write his name and it will show all his.
no, this is not the one I'm looking for. What I'm looking for is a discussion. It says CV score correlation with leaderboard. No. Or let me search it the other way. Oh, yeah. This. Yeah, so this guy, by the way, Steve, has posted all the topics, I think.
Yeah.
And
I'd seen that. I tried using the Persuade data, but it didn't seem to help me.
yeah, no, that doesn't. The yeah, many people have commented that hasn't helped, but the use of topics to
Yeah, to do the split of the data this for your folds.
yeah, but there was some discussion. Again, if I find it, I'll post it. You know, because it'll take a while for. I have like 56 different okay, let me see this one. Yeah, 57 links. So it will take a while because that one has all of these things that I'm talking about bookmarked. So it'll take a while to open up, and if I find it while I'm talking, then I'll post.
Right.
Not. I'll do it right after the call. But yeah, so that's the other thing you could do. Anyway, I don't know whether I ever talked about why the topics help. The topics help because if you include the topics and factor in the topics in your scoring, then the CV scores correlate better with the leaderboard score.
Right.
That's the reason why after, so that your CV improves. It's not that your score improves, but your correlation of CV scores with the leaderboard improves. So if we are relying on CV, then that would be a good thing to do, right?
Yep.
So that's why I wanted to point that out.
The only thing is, yeah, like I'm running with like an ensemble of yeah, like sort of 5 different models, 5 different LGBT models, and yeah, they've all been trained on exactly the same fold, so it means like I'm not getting any leakage when I combine them. So to incorporate the categories, I would probably need to retrain all of them again, which I don't have enough time or enough GPU left to do that.
Do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, the best I can hope for is I sort of stick with the with the CV score I have and stick with the folds I've got, and just like try and get the thresholds as best I can with the CV score.
Yeah, I think I might be similarly limited with what the time and how much effort I can put in also to what you're talking about, of, not just adding too many complications.
Yep.
Yeah, let me really quick, now that I have this thing open, let me, here. Okay, let me share, because at least I can show you guys the thing I was talking about of the Japanese guy who figured out. You should be able to see it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is the post I was talking about. See, it says optimize QWK by LGB.
Yep.
And the related discussion post is here. So the post was completely in Japanese.
How was it?
And then, yeah. I need the explanation and discussion post. And this was prediction expanded. Yeah, see, this is the one that he talks about.
Right.
Yeah, and then this guy tried it, but he wasn't able to. And then the creator, he says he solved it in this. And that's where it comes from.
Oh, does that show where he gets his A value from?
Yeah. He fits something and then make sure he fits it. But I haven't gone through the trouble of reading through it to say, is it a constant or does it depend on the data or what?
Yeah.
But that's the source of, but this is the original source of what everybody is doing. Yeah, I tried the idea of my article and published the notebook here. And I think you can see the idea of this article or whatever here. Right, so those are the two reference notebook for what this A thing and then, the F and the G and all that kind of stuff. Gobbledygook. Let's see. No, let's see. Let's see whether I can find the other thing we were talking about. I think it's this. This discussion, I think. So here he goes into how there's a difference between his CV and the leaderboard. And if I remember correctly, then Chris weighs in. So there and says, hey, this really looks like, yeah, see, he published the topics. If you want to try Martin's CV scheme, we can use the output from this to create group K-fold. That's the idea. Because it's related to your shake-up thing, right?
Yeah, no, definitely, yeah. So, as I say, I may not be able to do it now because it's
no, but
maybe too late. But
yeah, it may be. But I just thought that's an interesting. But I kind of knew this, but I ignored it. But it just occurred to me when you said rely on CV versus just the leaderboard score, because this is topical, right? When you want to improve the CV score, if you're relying on CV.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's the reason I wanted to point to this. But anyway, okay, I guess we have till Tuesday to see. I'm at least going to make the change, like you said, take the notebook, make the change. Submit. It'll probably be slightly lower, but rely on it, or at least have it as an alternative.
Yeah, so I was gonna do that, and then select it as one of my submissions.
Yeah, that's a good plan.
I saw there was a new competition launched there. It's like what do you call it? Artificial General Intelligence competition, but it's like 6 months long.
Oh yeah, I think the Francois Cholet, I forget.
Yeah, I think he's got something to do with it. Yeah, so it sounded quite interesting. It's like more what I'm interested in. So I was going to take a look at that. As I say, I think it lasts for 6 months, which is unusual.
Yeah, because that's the AGI kind of thing, and
yeah, that's right. Yeah. I think it's like another one of those competitions that's like running outside of Kaggle as well, because it said there was like $1 million prize, but I think it's like
a big
across
deal
the
because it progressed towards AGI, right? So
yeah,
there's a lot of and I think the guy who wrote Keras and stuff is the guy who is sponsoring it, co-sponsoring it with somebody else. I forget who else is, but
the folks at the top of that competition, Yannick's Discord has a weekly Sunday meet and they meet around 10:30 p.m. my time. That's the same time here. So just tomorrow.
All right.
So if you want to join, like you can join that.
Are you in it? Do you join?
I joined it last week, the first time. I looked at the video. I think so. Machine Learning Street Talk had a video in which Tim talked to all the three team members, and so it was like yeah.
All right.
So you can so we can have some we can have Saturdays for one competition, and for ARC we can kind of like switch to Sundays, like we can alternate too if you guys want.
Yeah, I'll need to catch up with what they're up to, because as I say, I just saw the competition at launch and thought it sounded very interesting, but I hadn't had a chance to see what's happened with it since it happened. But
so, what is the competition itself, by the way? I mean, is it on Kaggle?
Yeah, it's on Kaggle, and supposedly there's like some data set out there already that like is sort of questions or something that sort of analyzes how close to AGI models are. So yeah, it's like trying to sort of get closer with them. If you just look in Kaggle for AGI or whatever. It's like, I think it's like one of the latest competitions that's been launched.
Oh, by the way, yeah, I think thing I promised I do, but I'll put it down on our Kaggle thing too. Apparently, some guy is going to read through the book on deep learning. I forget by the guy who came up with GANs. I forget the guy's name now.
All right, yeah.
The guy who
Ian Goodfellows?
Goodfellow?
Ian Goodfellow. Yeah,
Yep.
Ian Goodfellow. Yeah,
Yep.
so some guy posted in general that he's anyway planning to go through the book. So if he's interested, if people are interested, you know, do they want to join and stuff? And so I just said I'd bring it up if people are interested to post in response to him so he can set up a channel or whatever and go through it. But I don't know how many people would want to do that. I mean, invariably what I've found is, you know, initially there might be enthusiasm, but then people drop off very quickly and it kind of goes down to a very small number who will stick to things. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can kind of like do that parallelly. Like on Sundays, that's the dedicated group. I think so. They have been doing it for a long time. I think so for a last couple of years, those folks have joined together, and the group is strong too with 10, 15 folks, and we can on our TWIML, we can continue with other competitions. So
I mean, I might just join. Anyway, I'll look at it because if it's it depends on what I'm kind of particularly interested. By the way, on a related but kind of different note, I've been, you know, I also, by the way, Steve was working with mine to see whether we could, I could improve my ability to work with LLMs and fine tune them by using the data, much like Chris did. So I did manage to train an LLM, but I wasn't able to get it on Kaggle because, you know, the latest version of, what was it? I think, was it Llama I was using or something else? Mike, I forget now which. Mistral version 0.3.
Yeah, 0.3.
And that ran into some problems. Yeah, Instruct v.3, but you know, the catch-22 that I ended up with was because of Kaggle's limitation on inference, I can't train on BF16 because I won't be able to execute on BF16 because, you know, the T4 only supports float 16. So anyway, to make a long story short, I didn't complete that thread. So I'm still working on trying to, at least as an example, fine tune an LLM on some custom data, because I wanted to kind of get a little more fluent on, or I should say in case of RAG, forget little more. I just wanted to even fundamentally go through the whole process of setting up a RAG system and having it work.
Right.
Have either of you managed that or have done it before?
Not really. I've played about with it, but I've just sort of tinkered about with it.
Yeah, I mean, we did it in an indirect way in one of our prior competitions, right? We used FICE, remember, in that, was it patent or was it a different one where we used, oh no, it was the science question answering one.
Yeah.
In which we used FICE, and that's essentially RAG, right? Because we took FICE as kind of an index, stuffed the context, that is RAG. But I wanted to kind of implement that with LLMs and see how that works, but I haven't yet gotten even a proof of concept or a pilot project to work. So I am kind of interested. Did you said, Mike, you had done it, or before, or?
Yeah, we played around with the TWIML RAG repo. And in that, we had a couple of approaches to RAG. One was using a simple vector database. I think so. We used uh, uh, we used Pinecone. The first approach was, the second approach we used on memory database, the quant one.
This was, I think, if I remember correctly, it was trying to answer questions from transcripts of TWIML podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I want to kind of see whether I can do something similar, but on my own, rather than copying some code, but just kind of do it on my own. And, you know, I have this whole corpus of my own, the class we went through, Mayank, on diffusion. So the transcripts exist, right, for all our lectures and discussions. So that would be a good example to try and implement.
Oh, yes. So just good news. India has finally won the World Cup again.
Oh, I see, the T20 World Cup or something.
Yeah, and they won by 7 runs.
Oh wow! So it was pretty exciting match then.
Yeah.
Unlike the boring ones that Steve talks about.
I think I prefer baseball.
Yeah, actually, you know, I haven't been too much of a fan of cricket. I do occasionally, since I moved to the US, I've gotten, I mean, even as recently as 2011, I was interested, but then I kind of somehow it waned.
Yeah.
And now I'm much more, I mean, not that I, you know, comparatively, I would much rather watch basketball to anything else. I mean, that's my most favorite sport and to watch. And I have played it myself, so I'm kind of interested in it. But of course, I also enjoy watching tennis. So I think Wimbledon coming up, right?
That's right. It's just about to start.
Yeah, actually, you know, way back in 2000, well, way back in '94, Steve, I visited England. I haven't been there in a long time, but in '94, I was lucky enough to get tickets to Centre Court on Wimbledon and spend the whole day there.
All right. I actually might have been there myself that year.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
I went 1
Wow.
year. Yeah. It must have been about 94 when I used to live like down in Reading near there, and so I went along. So,
yeah, in fact, the thing is, I think if you recall, the Sunday in between, or it's a 2-week tournament, right? And the in between Sunday, I think they sell tickets to the public.
Yeah.
So I went and stood there like a...
Yeah, when I went do you know, like, you can turn up on the day, and if there's been like a lot of rain, then people don't turn up. And so yeah, like I turned up, it was like the day after a rainy day, and yeah, like it just got straight in.
Oh, okay. So what happened for me, actually, my wife and I both went, and, you know, we were actually on our way to some other place from England and stuff, and we were there just for a couple of days, and I said, hey, Wimbledon is going on. You know, it's been my lifelong goal to see whether I can watch it. So can we go check out? And she was like, really? And, you know, I just convinced her, and we went and stood in line at like 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And just as and it was a big line too, long line. And just as we got to the front of the ticket booth, or we were second, and they said, shut down, right? Like all tickets sold out. And we were about to leave the line when suddenly a couple of people told us, no, don't stick around, because what they do is they wait for half an hour after the matches start. And if any of their members don't show up, they resell those tickets. And because they are member tickets, they're usually like really good. And you get like center court tickets and some of the best tickets available. So for £50, I remember, and this is total of £50 for 2 tickets, we got center court tickets for the whole day.
Amazing. Very
that
good.
was a real joy to watch, because, you know, we watched Steffi Graf, Andre Agassi. We watched the Indian guy, Vijay Amrit Rai, Leander Pace in doubles. So it was like a really fun day.
Yeah, like over here, you can apply in a ballot to try and get tickets each year. But I keep meaning to do it, but never get around to it. But I suppose that you got quite a good chance of getting them. So
interesting. Yeah, I want to kind of make it my objective probably to go to all of the Grand Slams at least once. I haven't been to, other than Wimbledon, I haven't been to US Open or the Australian. I would want to. That'll be a goal, as well as kind of, you know, also attend. Have either of you been to any Olympic Games?
No. Been to Commonwealth Games, not Olympic Games. And I've been to some World Cups.
But you missed out on the 2012 thing then, Steve.
Oh, in London? Yeah. I don't know. I just didn't bother going. Like, so yeah. I probably should have made more of an effort, and it was just down the road. But I was happy enough just to watch it on
because
TV.
The other thing that I'd really like to watch, talking of things to watch, is track and field.
Yeah.
I really like that.
The other thing I'm into is the Tour de France, which started today. So I keep intending to go to France to watch the cycling going. But
yeah, I've read when I was a kid growing up. There were books about it and stuff, and I haven't yet fully understood how the whole thing works.
Yeah, it's just basically you've got like a load of teams, and each team has got like its main rider, and they're sort of trying to work to get that main rider to like win the competition, and like
and there's this.
Yeah, it's just each
but
day.
Is
like
there also the time trial and all this kind of stuff?
Yeah, so like that's extra, but it's every single rider's at the end of every day they're timed, and so like it's just like their time adds up over each stage, and so yeah, like gradually one person will sort of start to like have a reduced time and start to move into the lead. But yeah, like because of the fact you got the whole team sort of riding for the person, it's like very tactical about, because the whole team sort of bunches around them to sort of protect them and protect them from the wind and from other riders and things. So yeah, there's a lot going on.
And then, but then how do they let the guy win? Like when they come close, they kind of yield to him getting ahead of everybody else?
Yeah, so like pretty much they'll sort of ride in front of him right up until the very end, and then let him go out by himself. Yeah, because it takes a lot of work to be at the head of the field because you're in the wind.
Right.
If you sit behind the person, you've got like sort of half the energy to expend. So.
Right. So it's purely a race other than this team aspect.
Well, there's other things. There's like sprint stages and stuff, which suits other riders. And so yeah, but like overall, it's the person who can go for whatever it is, 3 weeks riding up like big massive mountains and stuff, and do that. Like a lot of people aren't sort of built for that.
Yeah, no, in fact, there is comparable, but they do something similar just in California, because we have mountains and oceans. And I mean, of course, I don't know whether they ever ride the Tour de France close to the oceans, and I only see them riding up hills. But do they ride anywhere near the oceans?
Yeah, no, they take it all over. And although it's called the Tour de France, they actually like even start in different countries and stuff. So they've had it starting in
Mhm.
like Britain before as well.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah, so
obviously,
they did something, or they've been doing something similar in California the last several years. So,
right. Yes, like over here, there's other ones. It's like tour of Italy and whatever. And there is like a tour of Britain as well, but they're just not as famous as the Tour de France. So.
yeah, they're not as competitive or as famous. And stuff.
Yeah.
So it started today.
Yeah, today was the first day of it.
Interesting. So do you ride a bike?
I used to ride a bike into work, but that was about the height of it. So yeah, there's no hills in Manchester either. Over here, you just gotta put up with the rain. That's all you gotta cope with.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, the place I would love to ride a bike is Scotland. Man, beautiful.
A lot of famous for its midges. If you ride there, you're likely to be attacked by like midges and bitten. So yeah.
What are those?
Like sort of like mosquitoes.
Oh.
But yeah, there's thousands of them. So yeah.
Wow.
They come out
yeah,
in the
it's just
summertime.
beautiful. You know, I've seen people riding and driven by them, and I was like, man, it's so green and so kind of smooth hills. And of course, I'm not talking about like crazy stuff, but just very beautiful natural rides.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's once you start riding that you notice all these other things that get to you. Otherwise, sitting in a car looking at the riders, you think, wow, that really looks pretty.
Yeah, so I'm happy enough just to watch it on TV.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Good luck to everyone, and I'll also see whether I can spend some time and get this CV thing done and submit that too.
Okay, good luck. I'll speak to you next week.
We'll meet next week and see where we all end up.
Okay, cheers.
Okay,
Thanks
guys.
for joining.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.